Tragedy in Ashland this morning. Police say a school threat ends in a teen suicide.
A school is cleared out after teachers alert officials to a smell of gas.
And a mid-Missouri murder case makes more national headlines. Ryan Ferguson's attorney takes his latest appeal to court. KOMU-8 News First at 5 starts now.
Live from Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU-8 News First at 5.
What's going on? Is my family in danger? Am I in danger? You know, it's just, there's been so much to do with school shootings lately. You should let me know just to calm my nerves as a parent and as a community citizen.
In your first look at your local news this afternoon, we have new information on that tragedy in Ashland. Good afternoon, I'm Angie Bailey.
And I'm Brittany Pieper. A 17-year-old boy is dead after shooting himself at his Boone County home just outside of Ashland. Hours before shooting himself, authorities believe the boy text messaged a threat to a classmate who forwarded it to the district superintendent. KOMU-8 News First broke this story this morning. We begin our team coverage with KOMU-8's Christina Alexander live at Southern Boone High School with a timeline of how it all happened.
This is where the 17-year-old attended school. Now, all Southern Boone schools were closed today due to the threat. Boone County Sheriff's deputies and Ashland Police held a news conference this afternoon where we learned about new details about two incidents that are connected.
This is a terrible, terrible situation.
A school shaken by tragedy.
The student, while obtaining some articles of clothing, also retrieved a small caliber handgun that was kept in the residence, turned that handgun on himself and discharged the firearm into his chest.
A 17-year-old is dead after sending a text message to his classmate threatening the school.
The threat was nonspecific as to what the threat was, other than it appeared to be credible and possibly dangerous.
At 10:30, he sent the text. At 11:30 p.m. Monday, a team of bomb threat detectors went to the high school to search for a possible bomb. They found nothing. Then around 1:30 a.m. Tuesday, a Boone County Sheriff's deputy and an Ashland police officer went to the teen's house. When the boy saw authorities, he didn't resist arrest and proceeded to shoot himself in the chest. Emergency services responded to the scene at 1:57 a.m.
Law enforcement themselves, both Ashland and Boone County deputies, began trying to treat the subject as he was down.
The 17-year-old later died in the hospital. Now, deputies don't know if the boy has a criminal record. Boone County Sheriff's deputies say the boy's body will undergo an autopsy tomorrow. Also, Southern Boone County High School plans to reopen tomorrow and will have grief counselors at hand to help the students cope with grieving and the tragedy. Reporting live in Ashland, Christina Alexander, KOMU-8 News.
And we'll continue our coverage from Ashland and have reaction from those who live in the community. Be sure to tune in to KOMU-8 News coming up at 6 o'clock, and of course KOMU.com for any updates as they come in.
Governor Nixon planned to be at Fairview Elementary in Columbia today for an education event, but the governor's spokesperson says he canceled the visit out of respect for those in Ashland.
Ryan Ferguson was back in court today, continuing his 9-year fight against a murder conviction.
KOMU-8's Eric Hilt was in the appeals court in Kansas City and joins us now with those details. Eric?
Yeah, I'm here at the Missouri Western District Court of Appeals, and here at the Court of Appeals, Ryan Ferguson's attorney was at a hearing. That is the second step in getting a retrial for Ryan Ferguson. Now, this isn't the first time that Ferguson's attorney has been in a similar hearing at this very building. About 2 years ago, there was an evidentiary hearing here where the lawyer tried to get another retrial for Ryan Ferguson, and 3 judges decided that it did not merit a retrial, but they did admit that the arguments that Ryan Ferguson's lawyer gave them pause. Now, 2 years later, that pause has led to a full-on habeas hearing. What a habeas hearing is basically Ryan Ferguson's lawyer and the state each had 15 minutes to give their arguments to 3 justices, and those 3 justices will now discuss those arguments and come to a conclusion on whether Ryan Ferguson should be retried for the 2001 murder of a Columbia Tribune sports editor, or whether his conviction in 2005 and a 40-year jail sentence stands. Reporting live in Kansas City, Eric Hilt, KOMU-8 News.
Looking back to some key points in the Ferguson case, in 2001, Columbia Tribune sports writer Ken Heitholt was murdered. In 2005, Ferguson was sentenced to 40 years in prison for second-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Then in 2010, the same Court of Appeals said the contradictions in the case gave them a pause, but they did not make a decision and handed the appeal over to the lower court. Then in 2012, after more than 6 months of deliberation from the lower court, Ferguson was denied a retrial. Then in January 2013, another habeas corpus was requested and accepted, getting us to where we are today. A Kansas City attorney accused of killing her father by forging documents now faces a second murder charge. Susan Van Note was charged with killing William Van Note in October 2010. He was shot at the his Lake of the Ozarks vacation home. He later died at a Columbia hospital after his daughter, Susan Van Note, showed doctors a durable power of health care document. Prosecutors say it was forged. Now, Camden County prosecutor Brian Keedy charges Van Note with first-degree murder in her father's girlfriend's death. He also dropped charges against Van Note's friends who had been accused of aiding in the forgery. Students and staff evacuated Columbia's field school this morning after fluid leaked from a nearby construction site. Faculty and staff reported they smelled gas inside the school. Ameren says it was not gas but hydraulic fluid. The gas smell came from the gas main on Fay Street and Wilkes Boulevard that crews replaced yesterday.
Major moves today in plans to deal with Syria and its apparent use of chemical weapons. KOMU-8's Colin Ruane has a complete look at this quickly changing story.
President Obama was on Capitol Hill this afternoon to discuss diplomatic relations and with Democratic and Republican senators. The talks come as Syria says it supports Russia in a proposal in which the country will put its entire stockpile of chemical weapons under international control. However, Obama is still pushing for support of U.S. military intervention from congressional leaders and the American public against the Assad regime in case diplomatic talks fail. The president will be addressing the nation from the White House tonight. Meanwhile, American cargo planes and fighter jets are on standby at Turkey's Incirlik Air Base today while Russia's Syrian proposal is being debated. Russia's initiative has been gaining support. It calls for the Syrian government to hand over its chemical weapons to the international community. France, a close U.S. ally, is set to put forward a UN Security Council draft resolution, which would turn the Russian idea into a full-blown diplomatic proposal, rather. If carried out, the plan could avert Western military strikes. Most of the world might be focused on whether the U.S. will accept Russia's proposal for international control of Syrian chemical weapons, but the deadly fighting in Syria never stops. In the first video, the shell appears to explode very close to the front of the camera. It's unclear if the camera was running on its own or someone was looking through the viewfinder. Other amateur videos posted online today purportedly show heavy shelling in a Damascus suburb. Other videos show rebel forces firing at government aircraft and a rebel tank firing. In the last video, the photographer appears to walk through the rubble of Araya and comes upon an elderly woman climbing from her basement. Angie?
Closer to home, boy, it's still hot out there, isn't it? But the weather department, including Rosie, has said that it will be hopefully cooling down, but maybe not today. Rosie, what do we got left for today?
Left for today, just still a whole lot of toasty temperatures here in mid-Missouri. Put me a little bit on the hook, but I like it because I do think this cool down is going to be moving into mid-Missouri. Probably looking at 24 to 36 more hours of really, really warm temperatures here. But then we've got big changes on the way as we look at the rest of your work week and as we slide into this next weekend. Just a quick peek as to where temperatures are across mid-Missouri right now. Most of us still into the lower and middle 90s across the area. Crystal clear skies expected as we head into our evening and overnight hours tonight. Top temperatures tomorrow going to be sliding just a little bit downward, but certainly going to be seeing a big drop as we head closer to the next weekend. We'll give you a full breakdown as to what you can expect in your next 8 days in total, and we'll talk about a chance of rain coming in along with this cool down. All of that will be coming up in just a few minutes.
The U.S. ranks top on a new worldwide study, and you may be happy with those results.
Also, why it seems as if people are becoming night owls when it comes to taking care of themselves. And there's a live look over Columbia Regional Airport. Blue skies, nothing but sunshine out there still. It's 5:08. This is KOMU 8 News First at 5. Coverage you can count on.